Divine Grace HG Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai.
Jai.
Jai Om Vishnupad Paramhansa Privajikacharya Stotra Satyashimaris Divine Grace Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur Maharaj Prabhupada Ki Jai. Ananta Koti Vaishnavini Ki Jai. Namacharya Srila Haridas Thakur Ki Jai. Prem se kaho Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Sri Advaita Gadadhar Shivachari Gaur Bhaktivinoda Ki Jai. Shri Radha Krishna Gopa Gopinath Shyam Kund Radha Kund Giri Govardhan Ki Jai. Vrindavan Dham Ki Jai. Mathura Dham Ki Jai. Navadvip Dham Ki Jai. Jagannath Puri Dham Ki Jai. Ganga Mai Ki Jai. Jamuna Mai Ki Jai. Tulasi Devi Ki Jai. Bhakti Devi Ki Jai. Samaveta Bhaktivinoda Ki Jai. Nitai Gaura Premanande.
Hari Bol.
All glories to the assembled devotees. Hare
Hare
Krishna.
Krishna.
All glories to the assembled devotees. Hare
Hare
Krishna.
Krishna.
All glories to the assembled devotees. Hare
Hare
Krishna.
Krishna.
All glories, the lotus feet of Shri Shri Guru and Gauranga. Glories to Shri Prabhupada. Namo Vishnu Paraya Krishna Krishnaya Bhutani Srimadi Bhakti Deva Swami Namani. Namaste Krishna Paraya Prabhupada Sthapan Shri Gaura Karana. Narayana Namasvecha Narom Jaivam Narotamam Devim Saraswati Vyasam Tato Jayam Udirayat Nashta Prayesva Bhadresu Nityam Bhagavat Sivaya Bhavatu Tamasloke Bhaktir Bhavati Naistiki Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
Hare Krishna, devotees. Good morning. Please accept my humble obeisances. All glories to Srila Prabhupada. So this morning's Srimad Bhagavatam class is from Canto 2, Chapter 1. Canto 2, Chapter 1, Text 37. Canto 2, Chapter 1, Text 37. Ramananam Shatra Bujo Mahatma Viduru Angri Shita Krishna Vanam Kanabida Bija Gano Papano Ravyatmaka Karma Vitana Yuga Ramananam Shatra Bujo Mahatma Viduru Angri Shita Krishna Vanam Nanabida bija kano papano dravyatmaka karma vitana yoga Ramananam Shatra Vijo Mahatma Vid Uru Angri Shita Krishna Vana Nanabida bija kano papano dravyatmaka karma vitana yoga. Hare Krishna. You can chant if you want to.
Brahmananam Kshatra Bhujo Mahatma Vidur Angri Sthita Krishna Varna Nana Vidha Vichya Ganopapanno Dravyatmaka Karma Vitanayaga.
Yay.
Hare Krishna.
Anyone else?
Hare Krishna. Brahmananam Kshatra Bhujo Mahatma Vidururangri Shrita Krishna Varna Nana Bida Bijya Ganopapanno Dravyatmaka Karma Vitana Yoga.
Yay. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Brahmananam Chaturabhujo Mahatma Vidurangari Sri Krishna Varnaha Nanavida Vidyaganapanna Dravyaatmaka Karma Vitana Yoga.
Jai, Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Brahmanamanam Shatrabhujo Mahatma Vidurangrihi Shrita Krishna Varna Nana Vidya Ganopapanno Dravatmakaha Karma Vitana Yogaha.
Jai.
Brahmananam Kshatra Bhujo Mahatma Viduro Angri Srita Krishna Varnaha Nanabhi Vijo Ganopanano Vibro Makaya Karma Vitana Yogaha. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Anyone else? All right, we'll do word for word now. Brahma, the Brahmanas. Anayam, the face. Ananam, the face. Chakra, the Kshatriyas. Puja, the arms. Mahatma, the Virat Purusha. Great, the Vaishyas. Uru, the thighs. Angry, Sita, under the protection of his feet. Krishnavana, the Shuddhas. Nana, various. Abhida, by names. Abhijagana, demigods. Upapa, na, being overtaken. Dravya Atmaka, with feasible goods. Karma, activities. Vitana, yoga, performances of sacrifice. Translation by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. The Virat Purusha's face is the Brahmanas. His arms are the Kshatriyas. His thighs are the Vaishyas. And the Shudras are under the protection of his feet. All the worshipable demigods are also overtaken by him. And it is the duty of everyone to perform sacrifices with feasible goods to appease the Lord. Purport by Srila Prabhupada. Monotheism is practically suggested here. Offering sacrifices to many demigods under different names is mentioned in the Vedic literatures. But the suggestion made in this verse is that all those varieties of demigods are included in the form of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. They are only the parts and parcels of the original whole. Similarly, the divisions of the orders of human society, namely the Brahmanas, the intelligent class, the Kshatriyas, the administrators, the Vaishyas, the mercantile community, and the Shudras, the laborer class, are all included in the body of the Supreme. As such, sacrifice by every one of them in terms of pleasing the Supreme by feasible goods is recommended. Generally, sacrifice is offered with clarified butter and grains. But with the progress of time, human society has produced varieties of goods by transforming materials supplied by God's material nature. Human society, therefore, must learn to offer sacrifices not only with clarified butter, but also with other manufactured goods in the propagation of the glory of the Lord's glory, and that will bring about perfection in human society. The intelligent class of men, or Brahmanas, may give direction for such sacrifices in consultation with the previous acharyas. The administrators may give all facilities to perform such sacrifices. The Vaishya class or mercantile community who produce such goods may offer them for sacrifice, and the Shudra class may offer the manual labor for the successful termination of such sacrifice. Thus, by the cooperation of all classes of human beings, the sacrifice recommended in this age, namely the sacrifice of congregational chanting of the holy name of the Lord, may be executed for the common welfare of all the people of the world. Hare Krishna. Oma Gyanati Virandasya, Gyana Gyana Shalakaya, Chakshu Militam Yena, Tasmai Shri Guruve Namaha. Shri Chaitanya Manovistam Stapitam Yena Bhutale, Swayam Rupakaramayam Dadanti Swapadantika. Vandeham Shri Guru Sri Yuta Padakamalam Shri Guru Vaisnavam Scha. Sri Rupa Sagajatam Sahagana Ragunatam Vitam Tam Sajivam. Sadvaitam Avadutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Deva. Sri Radha Krishna Pada Sagana Lalita Sri Vishaka Vitam Scha. He Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dina Bandhu Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostate Tapta Kanchana Gorangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vishabhanusute Devi Paramami Hari Priya Vanchakalpatru Vischa Kripa Sindhivya Evacha Patitanam Pavanevyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha. Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shiva Shari Gaura Bhaktavinda. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Ram, Hare Hare. Namo Vishnu Padaya Krishna Pashkaya Bhutale, Srimati Bhaktivedanta Swami Niti Namini. Namaste Saraswati Devi Gauravani Pacharine Nirveshesha Sunyavadi Paschatya Deshitarine. Namo Mahavadanyaya Krishna Prema Padayate Krishnaya Krishna Chaitanya Namni Guratiche Namah. Ananda Lilamaya Vigrahaya Himavya Divacha Vishundaraya Tasmi Mahaprema Rasmadaya Chaitanya Chandaya Namo Namaste Chaitanya Chandaya Namo Namaste Chaitanya Chandaya Namo Namaste Chaitanya Chandaya Namo Namaste. Hare Krishna. So the translation again is the Virat Purusha's face is the Brahmanas. His arms are the Kshatriyas. His thighs are the Vaishyas. And the Shudras are under the protection of his feet. All the worshipable demigods are also overtaken by him. And it is the duty of everyone to perform sacrifices with feasible goods to appease the Lord. Hare Krishna. So Shukadeva Goswami is describing so wonderfully the universal form of the Lord, the Virat Purusha, to the hearing of Maharaj Pariksit and to our benefit also. So Krishna is merciful. In so many ways, he explains, sometimes directly, like he did in Bhagavad Gita, sometimes through his pure devotee, like in this case of Srimad Bhagavatam, Shukadeva Goswami speaking. So the Lord, in the universal form, Virat Purusha, we see the link between the different Paranas, that is Brahmanas, Kshatriyas, Vaishyas, and Shudra. So the universal form represents what happened in the material world, the classes, the divisions of the classes. The Brahmanas, the most intelligent class, then the Kshatriyas, administrators, and also the military. The Vaishyas, the mercantile family and the mercantile community, and the Shudras, the labor force, or the employees, we call them now, the workers. So the Lord is included, or the Lord includes everything, material and spiritual. You know, in this case, material is being described. Then Shukadeva Goswami also talks about the worshipable demigods. The worshipable demigods are also overtaken by him. They're all included. And it is the duty of everyone to perform sacrifices to appease the Lord with the proper goods, the feasible goods. So the first thing that Srila Prabhupada talks about is the fact that the Lord is one, and therefore monotheism is suggested here. Even to the Virat Purusha's form, the way it's described, still, we are worshiping one God. There is no need to worship many other gods who are not at the level of the Supreme Personality of Godhead anyway. So the next point Srila Prabhupada mentions is to offer sacrifices to many demigods with the different names. Yes, that's there. Vyasadeva put it in the Vedic literatures. And if you want a particular kind of boon, then you can worship a particular kind of demigod and so on. If you do the worship properly, chances are extremely high that you're going to get what you requested. But what does that do? Those are material requests. And more than likely, it increases our what? Sense gratification. And the sense gratification is the problem for us not being able to leave the material world. So the demigods, they are included in the form of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And not only that, any power that the demigods have is given by the will of the Lord. They are administrators. They take care of different parts of the material creation for the Lord. They work on behalf of the Lord. So they are parts and parcels of the original. So in Bhagavad Gita, chapter 9, which is the most confidential, is in text 23. It says, Ye pyanya devata bhakta, yajante shadanan yanvita, te pimam evakanteya, yajanti avidi purvakam. Translation is, those who are devotees of other gods and who worship them with faith actually worship only me, O son of Kunti, but they do so in a wrong way. So in this Bhagavad Gita statement, Krishna is making it plain that not only demigods are parts and parcels of the Lord, and they serve particular purposes, but those who worship these gods, other gods, then they become devotees of them, actually worship me, but they do so in a wrong way. That is indirectly, they worship the Supreme Personality of God. And now in their own minds, they're worshiping particular gods because they want some particular material boons. But all things in the material world are supplied by Krishna. So there is one lecture in which Srila Prabhupada described, and let's talk about Lord Shiva. And we're talking about Lord Shiva in particular, Om Namo Shivaya. Many people tend to worship Lord Shiva because they want particular things. And they know that Lord Shiva is extremely giving, so that if you do a puja to Lord Shiva, chances are very high that what you want, you're going to get. Now, so Srila Prabhupada explained, we say from the scriptures, and we preach so much that the greatest devotees of Krishna is Lord Shiva. He's always in meditation, thinking about Shesha. The snake around his neck represents Shesha. So he's connected very much. We can go a little later. Okay, Shesha connected with Balaram, but Balaram is a plenary expansion of Krishna. So Lord Shiva is meditating on Krishna. And Lord Shiva knows that when people do puja to him and want material things, that is not going to make them devotees of Krishna. It's going to not only that they are properly, most probably guaranteed another life in a physical body, in the material world. So why would he give things that people request that are material, knowing very well that it will trap them in more entanglement? The answer is, Prabhupada explained, he does not. He does not want to give those kinds of material things, but they're asking. So the way Srila Prabhupada put it is that Lord Shiva literally turns to Lord Vishnu, and Srila Prabhupada dramatizes it a little bit. He says, they are asking. Lord Shiva said, they're asking. And Lord Vishnu said, all right, give. All right, give. Then Lord Shiva gives. So Lord Shiva knows that those who ask for material things are just extending their lives here in the material world, in this jail, in this house of correction. So if we want to ask for anything, we should ask the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And not only that, the best thing to ask is to serve him devotionally. And that is the best thing that anybody can teach others to do. So Srila Prabhupada has taught us, first of all, he has written the Bhagavad Gita as it is, so that anyone who reads it and takes it to heart becomes a devotee of the Lord. Other Bhagavad Gitas, he said the other day, I was listening to a lecture yesterday, so many Bhagavad Gitas were written before Srila Prabhupada wrote his. And years have gone by, people have read those, no one became a devotee of the Lord. But when he wrote his, and satisfied with the comments, Krishna Stu Bhagavan Swayam, he is the Supreme Personality of Godhead. His Bhagavad Gita as it is made devotees. And then when I heard that, I started looking at Bhagavad Gita again, not for Srila Prabhupada's comments, but for the translations directly. And I see the translations directly actually establish that Krishna is the Supreme. He says everything that's the ultimate is for me. I'm seated in everybody's heart. Bhagavad Gita in chapter 15, Yoga of the Supreme Person, text 15. From me come knowledge, from me come remembrance, from me come forgetfulness. So many ways he described his superiority. And I'm going, what in the world were people thinking? By reading the translation, doesn't the Bhagavad Gita really say what is what? Yet, this is Kali Yuga. People will find ways to interpret things differently. So we're very fortunate to have Srila Prabhupada's comments even stress that Krishna is the one Lord. And therefore, here it is said, monotheism is the way to go. People who are engaged in the worship of demigods, Srila Prabhupada says, they are not very intelligent. Although such worship is given to Krishna indirectly. And when a person is watering a plant and they pour water on the leaves and the branches, yes, they are watering the plant. Leaves and branches are part of the plant. But is that the most effective way of nourishing the plant? The answer is no. So if we want the effective way, we go to the place where it would be most effective, which is the root. We've given these examples in so many different places. So without sufficient knowledge and observing the regulatory principles that are laid down by Krishna, then people go to demigods, wasting their time. Demigods are different officers, like directors in the government of the Supreme Lord. But we have to follow the laws made by the government, not follow the officers or the directors. So everyone is to worship the Supreme Lord only. And Krishna does not approve of unnecessary worship of a demigod. So in this case here also, it's been made plain by Krishna's great devotee, Srila Prabhupada, that monotheism is the way to go. Worship Krishna, and in Kali Yuga, we chant Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. So then Chipapa talks about the different parts, the varnas, the four varnas. Brahmanas, the intelligent class, and in the translation it says here they are the head, the face, Kshatriyas, administrators, Vaishyas, and then the Shudras, down to the Lord's feet. So they're all included in the body of the Supreme Lord. Now, in Bhagavad Gita, chapter 4, text 13, the Varnas are explained. Chatu Vanyamaya Shishtam Gunakama Vibhagasa. Tasya Kartaram Apimam Vidi Akartaram Avyayam. According to the three modes of material nature and the work associated with them, the four divisions of human society are created by me. And although I am the creator of this system, you should know that I'm yet the non-doer, being unchangeable. The important point is that the Brahmanas, the Kshatriyas, the Vaishyas, and the Shudras, they have a particular mode, they have a particular function, but they are also connected with the three modes of material nature. The intelligent class of men called the Brahmanas, they are in the mode of goodness by the way they relate their understanding of scripture and how they live their lives. Mode of goodness. The next is the administrative class, the Kshatriyas. They are situated in the mode of passion. They protect citizens, and they also administer. And sometimes when punishment is due, the king actually arranges, or sometimes arranges for the punishment, or sometimes does the punishing himself. Mode of passion. Mercantile men, those who are in business and also in cow protection, they are situated in a mixed mode of passion and ignorance. And then the employees, the Shudra class, they are situated in the mode of ignorance. So in this age, unfortunately, things have deteriorated so much that it says Kala Shudra Sambhava. In this age, in mentality, people are Shudras. So even if you look at the governments the way they are, well, Brahmanas, okay, so they are priests in different religions. What kind of quality priests are they, though? Are they Kshatriyas, administrative class? Sure, they are. It's parliament, it's Congress, it's so many people who make decisions. There's the military and the military heads, they're there. But what kind of decisions are made and what kind of wars are fought these days? Not wars for good things, but wars to take advantage of other countries and take advantage of the goods that the earth supplies. That's why people go to war, for all the wrong reasons. The mercantile men, Vaishyas, especially the cow was supposed to be protected. What are people doing now? Sacrificing the cow and eating the flesh. And the Shudra class, well, in all of that, they're supposed to be, the Shudra class is supposed to be supporting the other three Varnas. But if the three Varnas themselves are not doing things properly, what happens to the Shudra class then? You can be giving assistance, but you're giving assistance for things to be done wrongly. So it is a very unfortunate situation now in this Kali Yuga. There are people who go to work and they know that they are supporting something that is actually bad. They know, but because they receive a paycheck for it, they do it anyway. For example, a person that, and before I became a devotee, I met someone, I was looking for somebody, possibility of marriage. And there was this particular lady that I met, and she works for, she's a salesperson, works for a cigarette company. So she explains every morning she has so many, places to go, so many stores she has to go in and restock the cigarettes and she's speaking, and at that time I wasn't even a devotee. And she's speaking, but I'm still thinking, but cigarette kills people. And you're going around restocking the stores so people come by and kill themselves. those who are addicted to cigarettes. So yeah, she is a shooter by this definition. She's an employee, but she's with a company that's actually killing people. So the situation is actually very, very pathetic. But not many people even understand how much damage they're doing. How much damage you're doing to other people, and what kind of reprisal or karma, sinful reaction that will come upon them. So knowing this, the devotees also have to be very careful. And I know in certain situations where I know at least a couple of devotees, one of them, a Papa disciple, another one is actually my disciple. They were driving trucks, truck drivers. So honorable, it's okay, good job, pays well. They made sure that they told their companies that they were not going to haul meat. And they made sure that the goods that they were picking, that the companies had agreed that the goods to the devotees would not violate the regulated principles. So that way they protected themselves. They were still working, but they protected themselves. And so sometimes we do, when these things come up, we need to take a stand, because it's not a question of just being in a job to support the family, but the type of job also matters very much. Very, 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 very much. So anyway, to come back to this, there is the Varnashram system. Then, of course, there's also the ashram system, the brahmacharis, then the grihastas, who are in the society, they're the majority, the Vanaprastha, and also the sannyasis. So they all help spiritually, and we all have to work nicely together. And as I was thinking about this, there was one situation that happens every year for every big or well-established temple, and that is the Rath Yatra. In the Rath Yatra, I don't have to define it to you. We know Lord Jagannath gives his mercy by the help of the devotees, Lord Jagannath, Baladev, and Subhadra coming out and doing so much blessings of the community. Whether people understand who the Lord is or not, they just see, and the devotees are chanting, and so much blessings is given to that particular city. And this happens all around the world. We know that. This is nothing new. Now, so there is this Varnashram. The Varnas are there, the 4 Varnas. But for devotees, we are being trained in the transcendental activities, but still, we have to work like in the Varna system. So in the Rath Yatra, there's brahmanas. They are on the cart, making arrangements for Lord Jagannath first to be nicely situated. And then when the procession is going on, they are also doing so many things, doing offerings of bhoga, and even giving that out at some point. So many people, Srila Prabhupada's Murti is also there. And then, of course, this wonderful celebration of Lord Jagannath. The Brahmanas do that. Then there are devotees that play roles of Kshatriyas in the administrative sense. There's the planning for the Rath Yatra that's done by devotees, how to raise Lakshmi, and the different things that have to be done in different departments to make the whole Rath Yatra work nicely. So the Kshatriyas, in that sense, devotees are playing that role. And then the Vaishyas, we see them in the stalls, selling different paraphernalia for the Lord. So devotees are playing that role also as Vaishyas. And then everybody else. Some people are performing some menial work, but then everybody else is also chanting in the procession. Some of the menial work involving like those who are allowing the cars to be parked, the trucks to be parked in different places, and those who are serving the prasadam and so on. Wonderful work. So in that way, the devotees involve themselves in different activities under these categories during the Rath Yatra. But one thing is, a devotee can do work as it is required. So there may be devotees who may be second initiates, but they may not be on the cart. They may be doing different things. So in that way, Srila Prabhupada defines devotees. One of the 26 qualities of devotee is a devotee is expert. A devotee is expert. And as far as that goes, there are a couple of things that defines a person who is expert. The real expertise of the devotee, pure devotee especially, is able to take himself out of the difficult web of Maya. They're very careful not to offend people. They're careful to relate properly. They're careful to properly to devotees. They're careful to relate to their services with great attention and also do things in a timely way. So one of the greatest expertise of a devotee, a sincere devotee, is to surrender to the Lord. If the Lord takes charge of our affairs, different things that we do, our affairs, then we are in expert hands. So we should diligently learn the art of surrendering to Krishna and apply it purely. As Krishna himself says, abandon all varieties of religion and surrender to me, and simple reactions will be taken care of by me, and we shouldn't fear. Sarvadharma Parityaja, Parityaja, Mahamekam Sharanam Vaja, Aham Tvam Sarva Papebhyo Mokshayishami Mascha. And then Krishna also says in Bhagavad Gita, chapter 1865, 65th verse, Man mana bhava bhattato madhyajimam maskuru. These four things, Srila Prabhupada says, if we do, we will become a good and then devotee of the Lord, steady devotee, and then rise to purity. Think of the Lord all the time. So says Rupa Goswami also. Think of him, become his devotee, offer obeisances to him, and worship him. And all of the means to do that is supplied. Krishna has given us our minds, and our minds should be turned towards thinking of the Lord. Becoming devoted to the Lord. Give our hearts to the Lord. Give our hearts to the Lord. We have worshiping, which is, he has appeared in the Vigraha form, the Archa Vigraha. That's what we're just talking about Rath Yatra a few minutes back, Lord Jagannath, Baladev, Subhadra, and many other Archamurtis of the Lord. And offering obeisances to the Lord. Everybody can do that. Everybody can do that. But Krishna says, you do that, you come to me. Just trust and do that, and you'll come to me. And I'll take care of you. Take care of you, take sinful reactions away, and you will definitely come to Krishna's abode at the end of life. So, Srila Prabhupada explains that a devotee is expert, and that means that he's willing to do anything to serve the Lord, to serve Guru, and to serve the devotees. Not that a person is a Brahman, so he cannot do a menial task. So that back to the Rath Yatra, there are Brahmanas, a few Brahmanas that may be on the cart or the carts, depending on whether we have 1 or 3 carts for the Rath Yatra. But there may be devotees also who are second initiates, who are serving prasada. So a devotee is expert, meaning that he's willing to do anything. So the ability to surrender and do the needful, Prabhupada explains, is the sign of an expert devotee. So that is clearly a message to us that we shouldn't shun or get away from some tasks because we say, well, now that's below me. I am second initiated, I'm first. Well, the bhaktas that are not initiated, they're the ones that are supposed to do this, and I do this other thing and this other thing. One incident happened. We had traveled at that time. I was not in Pennsylvania. I was in Maryland, DC area. And some of my God family members, we traveled to one of the temples. And I don't want to bring too many details about it, but anyway, because some of it, part of it is kind of sensitive. But we were there in the Prasadam Hall, visitors, obviously, first time we went to the temple. And then we heard Prabhuji's voice, which seemed quite concerned. This was screaming, "Why is this place not being swept? Why is this not done? This what?" He was screaming, and we couldn't see his face, but we could hear him because he was coming down like a hallway, and then we were in this room, which was their Prasadam Hall. And then he says, "Where are the bhaktas? Where are the bhaktas?" And we look at it, and then that time he appeared, and we found out later on he was a temple president. So, well, no wonder he was so concerned about this. Because where are the bhaktas? And so everybody sitting there was from the DC and Maryland area. We were all visitors. And so we looked at him, and some of the devotees, one of them actually responded and said, Prabhu, we are all bhaktas. What kind of service do you want done? And as soon as he heard that, he looked at our faces, he knew we were all visitors because he knows his temple congregation. And his voice just calmed down. And then, he explained something. He said, "No problem. We'll help you. We'll definitely do it, do the service." And so clearly, sometimes we think that some things are done by these people and things not done by others. But Srila Prabhupada says that one who is expert is ready to do the needful. All that is needed, if it's important, they'll do it. That I know some devotees, Prabhupada disciples were pujaris and so on, but depending on what needed to be done and the fact that they were short of manpower, it was sweeping hallways and other things. The same person that milked, the Mataji that milks cows, he was sweeping the hallways, doing all that was necessary. This is a Giranagri at the time that I was there. So expertise is simple. Grasp the lotus feet of Lord Chaitanya, chant the holy name, and whatever is necessary to be done, we do. We don't say, "Oh, this is below me," or "this other person has to do." No, we just do what is necessary. And that way, Krishna actually will sweeten our devotional life. The more that we take try to do everything, we just take the initiative, go after all the services, and ask questions. And sometimes you don't even have to be told. You don't have to be told that this needs to be done, this needs to be done. Once you see it's there and it's not, somebody has not done it, take it as an opportunity and do the service yourself to the best of your ability. We can't just simply go on complaining and complaining and complaining. Anybody can complain. But when we are taking issues on in a way of helping to get what the services are covered, then we are being more responsible devotees rather than just talking about it and leaving it alone. And this is Srila Prabhupada's definition of an expert. Whatever is necessary to do. And that reminds me of one other situation. This is also in Gitanaki. That some devotees say, "Well, I'm an expert in this. I don't do this other thing, don't do this other thing." So one of the spiritual masters really brought our attention to things that we have to be careful of. I do this, I don't do this, I do this, I don't do this. He said, "What's your expertise? You're an expert at doing this. You can't do this other thing. So your expertise spans when? When did you become an expert at this? This lifetime or 5 lifetimes ago? You were an expert in something?" So basically we're saying don't come up with any excuses. What has to be done, it has to be done. So devotees' expertise is sincere surrender to service. It's for Krishna, it's for devotees, it's for Guru. That's all we need to think about and then go after it and get it done to the best of our ability. So devotees expert, Daksha. And also, you should remember, the Lord is one. we do not go through other demigods. We have to give everything to the Lord, our minds, our home, everything. Manasa Deho Geho. Give to Krishna and worship Krishna. And then we'll be in the right frame of mind. And then Krishna will reward us accordingly. Shri Prabhupada Ki Jai. So thank you, dear devotees. If there are questions, you can unmute yourself and ask. Hare
Krishna
Krishna.
Prabhu.
Hare Krishna.
All glories to Srila Prabhupada. So the way you are saying about the praying demigods, when I was young, I didn't know anything. So wherever my parents used to take me to the temple and pray this God, okay, I used to do that, not asking any fruitive results. That was my life. And next, what I'm saying is, now I know all that. And Krishna is the main one, and the demigods are just demigods only. Now I'm realizing at this age.
Yeah, it's okay. It's not late. You still, yeah, it's not late, and you can't blame yourself in any way because. Go ahead.
Almost when I was brand new to this country, I'm new to this accent. I'm new to this culture. I'm new to this everything, and I don't know where to apply for jobs and everything. And unfortunately, my husband couldn't get his job at his education level because he didn't have degree from here. We came little later age. So what I did was I jumped into the drugstore. It's like CVS pharmacy. There they put me to sell the cigarettes. Okay.
Oh boy.
And I used to do everything in the store, but including cigarettes also. And I don't know what the names are. I'm brand new to this country. So I don't know what the names are, how to sell them. But I need the job to survive and to run my house. Though I came with my brothers sponsoring, but I don't want to ask any money to them.
Yeah.
I want to be independent with my husband after my husband came. So I has to run the house. Of course, my children help me with small jobs, but the cigarette selling is the thing. Along with that, I came to know a devotee, go to the temple, Krishna temple in Denver. I used to do the surveys, whatever they wanted me to cooking or anything like that, and singing bhajans like that. All those things I used to do, but come back and the daily job is this one. Half of the things in that store, I don't know, but I jumped into the job. So that's how what I'm saying is the need made me do that.
Yes.
So we have to do
and that's understandable, but the Lord is also in the heart. So when the need, you were put in a situation where, and believe me, some devotees are maybe on their jobs, some side things that they do on their jobs may put them in this kind of risk, just like you were, also having to work because the money is needed in order to live in this country. And unfortunately, what you were given also involved, doing stuff that was
very short time. That was very short time.
Yes.
But now,
I'm glad you brought it up. Yeah. So after a while, and after a short while, as you yourself have said, then you had to go on to something
I started
different.
Going to the temple, but then I changed the job also, and I went into federal government job, and thereon I did very good. I came to know little bit. And I used to work federal government job. But what I'm saying is, I did a little bit time selling cigarettes. So I must have done some sin.
Well, you can look at it that way. You can look at it that way, but we are always, prodded, helped by the Lord and our intelligence. So if we're in a situation that is bad, then bells go up in the head, danger, 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 danger. And that's what you were saying, that you didn't stay in that job too long, because the reason was
Krishna
made
helped
clear.
me to come out of that. And
Absolutely.
then he just slowly pulled me to the Krishna temple, going and increasing time with Krishna temple, doing the services. Like that, slowly I jumped into this.
Yeah.
At this age, I'm whatever I'm reading this Bhagavad Gita, he says, I am in everybody's heart. I am the Vedas. I am this.
Yes.
And he says everything. But that's what I'm saying. I know now he is everything. And he is in my heart. And he knows why I work that job.
By Prabhupada's mercy. By Prabhupada's mercy. The spiritual master is very merciful. He showed us what the real path is, so that we know when we get into a situation that is troubling, or we know that we're in a situation that is not supported by the injunctions, then we know we need to get out. The Buddhists do sometimes get into situations that are a little dangerous, sometimes a lot dangerous, but the Lord is always there, and thankfully, Srila Prabhupada has explained what's right and what's not right. When you yourself, when you were speaking, you started with when you were home, and when you were little, they took you to temples, and then they told you to just, okay, worship this particular God, worship this particular God, and you did what you were told to do. But you know that God had to be worshipped in a monotheistic way. The Krishna is the Supreme Personality of Godhead. You followed at that time what your parents did. Then, as you grew older, then the situation, which is the right situation of monotheism, came to you by Krishna's arrangement. Again, you came to this country, and then you had to, take care of family. The money was needed, the job was needed. You didn't decide that, you would be in a situation where the job would be involving sales of cigarettes also. You did other things, and that was also put in, and the Lord took us out of it. So yeah, we will sometimes get into situations that are difficult, but as long as we have a good heart and we pray to the Supreme Personality of God, and we pray especially, we'll be taken out of it. One situation that happened also in Washington, D.C. area on his day, Tamal Krishna Goswami came to visit. And most of us were new at that time to Krishna consciousness. And questions time after his lecture, we came up, people were talking, and there's one particular Mataji that when we talk about don't kill animals, Tamal Krishna Goswami made it clear, but she was involved in research. And the research involved having to dissect animals. Small animals, true enough, but have to dissect them. Nice way of saying that they actually got killed, but and split open, and then the body parts were studied and so on. And this is what she was doing every weekday. And so Tamal understood that, and this actually was very well paying job. This person had a PhD, and a PhD researcher, and so I was really wondering what Maharaj was going to say. What she said, look, Maharaj, one thing about it, every time we asked a question, he said a short prayer to Srila Prabhupada. You see his lips move a little bit, then she would answer the question. He said to her, I understand you're working, and I understand the nature of the work, and now that you've heard, and she was about teen now, she's not initiated or anything, she just knew. And she said, pray to the Lord. Pray to the Lord, because some adjustment is going to have to be made to the work that you're doing. But pray to the Lord about it. Pray very sincerely to the Lord. Now that you know the nature and the implications of what you're involved with. Just like the devotees are told, don't be a butcher. But because once you put yourself in that situation, then, but people who also dissect small animals for in the name of research, they are also doing that type of harm. Small body, true enough, compared to a cow or bull or goat on it, but still, they're also doing that type of work. They say, oh, well, when we get the results from the tests that we do, it benefit humans. Well, it's very, very, very debatable. There are different ways in which you do things. But Kali, you guys come so bad. We could just go on and on and on about this. But anyway, what Maharaj told him is just pray to have to have a change adjusted for you?
One side I used to have home programs and then going to temple, devotees association. But at one side I had to work, and I used to work here. So both I used to do.
Yeah, yeah. Well,
later,
yeah, we do what's needed, what's necessary, but we have to be careful, to go by the injunctions of the scriptures so we don't get ourselves into trouble. That's why I was giving an example of
God. Now He gave me some time.
Yeah. Thanks for this commentary and an exchange. Any other comments or questions? Okay.
Hare Krishna, Pariksit Prabhu.
Hare Krishna.
Please accept my humble obeisances. All glories to Srila Prabhupada. Jai.
Yeah, it goes to Prabhupada.
Wonderful class. Thank you so much.
Krishna's mercy, Guru's mercy.
I really appreciated you speaking on the point of doing the needful. And I two thoughts on that. One is I heard a similar talk, or Radhanath Maharaj talk about this. Yeah. And one thing that he said was that we have to be more attached to who we're serving than the actual service itself, because the service may change, but we never should lose focus on who we're serving. And in that way, there's no kind of distinction in terms of service when we always consider, well, I'm serving the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Yeah. But sometimes he was saying that can be lost if we get just so wrapped up in our own individual service. We're thinking, sometimes we may forget who we're actually serving. And so therefore doing the needful means it doesn't matter necessarily what, as the situation may dictate, as time may dictate, we may be asked to do a service or thrown into the service, or our intelligence may just tell us, this is what's required at this time, and I need to act accordingly. And then I was also thinking about, in our homes, we typically do the needful. Like when, we come to the temple, but then most of us are congregation members or householders. We come back home. If a light bulb needs to be changed, we change the light bulb. Or if the trash needs to be taken out, we don't say, well, this is not really my thing, or the floor needs to be swept, or the toilet needs to be cleaned, or the clothes need to be washed, or the dishes need to be washed. These are all things that we do naturally because we consider this our home. We have a sense of ownership over it, which is how we have to live. But sometimes these distinctions get made when it comes to doing service unnecessarily. Anyway, those are my thoughts. I really do appreciate you speaking on that.
Hare Krishna. We need to we need to have our hearts. The basic thing is whatever needs to be done in order to serve the Lord properly and get things done, I'm willing to do it. If I see it, if I'm asked, I will definitely do it. And if I see that it's not done too and it needs to get done, jump in and do immediately. That means a person, any devotee in the temple that comes to the temple should come with the mentality that whatever happens, I'm ready to jump in and help. That's all. I'm ready to jump in and help. And sometimes it may mean that you can actually physically help, or it may mean that you may bring up an issue in order that the person that can best handle it will also be told that this needs to get done. It always has to be done in a nice and respectful way when you're telling someone. But definitely the whole temple is for us, and Srila Prabhupada has given us a nice opportunity to worship Krishna in all parts of the world, to take advantage of it like that. Hare Krishna. By the way, Srila Prabhupada says that's an expert. That's his definition of being an expert. Willing to take on whatever. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
I like that.
Go ahead, Prabhu.
Real quick, just as a follow-up question to that, do you think it's healthy for devotees to seek out service or look look for service that will maybe stretch their comfort zone. So knowing this principle of being expert and say, okay, I'm really not so inclined maybe to doing something like this, or there may be some resistance in my mind, whether I think it's not my nature, or I think that maybe, due to my conditioning, I think it's maybe below me, to maybe accept something in order to, I guess, just challenge. Do you think, is that healthy, or should we just kind of, what are your thoughts on that?
We were trying to end the sentence, and I was, because you kind of stopped, because I was waiting for you to actually complete the sentence, so I know where your mind you're going with this. So if you can rephrase it, I'd really appreciate that.
Okay, sure. Is it healthy for devotees to seek out service that may be outside of their comfort zone in order to overcome any barriers they may have as far as being resistant to a particular type of service, whether they think it's beneath them or they think it's not part of their nature, in order to, knowing this principle of being expert, and how Srila Prabhupada is exhibiting or explaining this, of doing the needful as being expert. So is it healthy for devotees to try to stretch themselves or go outside of their comfort zone?
We have to look at the overall picture of what needs to get done. And it's not good enough to just do things only because I want to, beat myself down and get to train myself to be a little bit more humble when it comes to services and doing services in one way or another, whether it's anyway, let me just break it down into this. When you say a service is below you, that's when maybe your false ego is kicking in. Because one, the person who's on the altar doing pujari work gets the same kind of benefit as the person who also sweeps the floor. Even though floor sweeping may be considered a menial job compared to being on the altar. So I see this in two parts, the way you answer this question. First, people should not think the services are below them. Any service, so that's wrong thinking in the first place. We have to do the service the best of our ability, whatever that service is. That's one. And two, if a person is doing a service in order to train the mind not to connect with the false ego, and say, hey, I don't want to do this. I want to make myself do the service. Yes, that's good, because that's bringing a person's mind to the proper humble level, the humble position. So yeah, that service is that if that service is going to train the person, for example, washing pots. Sometimes we go, oh no, I don't want to do this. But if you just take it and do it to the best of your ability, that will actually open up, the mind now to do other services that may be just as menial without any kind of difficulty there. But so you can in fact do services in that way. Do services in that way that is trying to help your mind go up. But we have to understand, though, that's the point, that what is called menial in Krishna's eyes, whatever is called menial, whatever is not called menial, when devotees are doing the service, it gives the same kind of spiritual benefit to it. So we shouldn't put down, at that point, we shouldn't put down services on the basis of it being menial. But if a person wants to, that's on the one part. Then the other part is, if a person wants to help their own selves, of course, they're not going to advertise that I have a bad false ego, but I want to help myself grow, get out of the situation of this one I don't like, this one. Make yourself do it. Yeah, that's training the mind to come to the humility level. So that part is good. Don't put down any service. The benefits are pretty much the same, because it's from Krishna watches our heart. Our heart, when we put our heart into the service, our intention, our hearts. That's what Krishna watches. And that is definitely for any kind of service. So hopefully that sheds some light on it. I saw it in two parts. Hare Krishna.
Thank you, Prabhu. Very nice. Thank you.
Krishna's mercy, Guru's mercy.
Thank you very much, Prabhu. It is 9 o'clock, so I think we should try and end the class. But just one point quickly about what Drona Prabhu said. I think the challenge is when it is a menial, or when I think that a service is menial, then what you have said is something to think about. But sometimes our false ego makes us reach for something that is above our pay grade, so to speak. So again, and I think what you said applies to that also. And I can, like Drona Prabhu was saying, Radhanath Maharaj said, think about who you are serving, not the service you are doing. I think that, as much as we'd like to believe that we are not victims of our false ego, I think, at least I am, I know I am. So the difficulty is in when I'm trying to do a service so I can get some attention. And so I'm reaching for a service that is beyond, it is, outside my comfort zone. That's a nice way of putting it. It's I cannot sing if my life depended on it. Should I be taking on, leading kirtan? But kirtan leaders get a lot of attention. So, so I think consciousness, being very conscious, always keep, remembering who it is we are trying to serve, who we are trying to please, actually, not just serve, but please him with our service. Mother Mukti Datri has raised her hand, so she can be the last person to.
Okay. Hare Krishna. We have to be honest with ourselves. Bottom line.
There we go. Yes.
Okay. Mataji, please go. Set up our own obeisances. Go to the PowerPoint. Please unmute yourself.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
I just wanted to, I'm hearing all of this discussion, and one thing going on my mind, like, sometimes, like, in US, I especially see when devotees supposed to be like serve in the temple, like, whenever they need to get initiation or something, they're like, if they're not doing really services in the temple, they are not getting recommended and all. But in my country, in Bangladesh, there are like so many devotees. They are living far from the temple. They are not even going every week to the temple, but they are getting initiated and all. They are doing their home service. Why we always think like doing service in the temple is service, but when we are doing at home, we are doing serve the Lord. Why doesn't mean like that is a service? Always saying the temples, whoever doing service, this is only service. I don't really get it, because people need to get initiated for their spiritual improvement
and growth. Yes.
Yeah, everybody in our religion, they said you have to be initiated, if you want to attain Krishna Lord. Then if someone is not nearby the temple and they're doing their home service, worshiping the Lord, chanting, they're supposed to get initiated. I think so, like that. What do you think? You have any opinion about that?
You have actually brought up a very important point here, in that this is partly a spiritual situation and a partly a management situation. Okay, you brought both of them up, and you made some comparisons, and I understand what you said. A person that is serious about devotional service needs a spiritual master, so the initiation has to happen. Yeah, that you made it clear. Now, one of the things that you need to be aware of, and I'll look at not from the management standpoint, I'll make very little comment about the management, but the spiritual aspect of it, we said the person needs to get initiated, but in the scriptures, it says, Yashat Prashan Bhagavat Prasharo. By the mercy of Krishna, one gets Guru. So, yes, a person wants to be a devotee, a person wants to get initiated. But actually, the process of initiated comes from the sanction of Krishna. It comes from the sanction of Krishna. And once you mention Krishna, then it doesn't matter what even the management situation is in the temple, what the rules are. Krishna is bottom line. Krishna is the bottom line for a person getting a guru. So that's what it says in the Shastra. Therefore, if that person may be far away, they may want to do some kind of service, and then here's where wisdom has to play into it also, okay? So the person is far away, they don't come to the temple as much. But in today's electronic age, it is possible to serve the temple while even being where you are. So if you know that the temple has that, this is not council matter, you know the temple has that management clause there that if you have to be recommended, then you have to be someone who's involved in doing some kind of service. Then if I was in that particular person's situation, I would contact the president, I'll contact the board or whoever is responsible for writing a recommendation letter and say, here is my situation, and you're saying that you should be serving. Therefore, take into consideration my situation of being that far and give me a service I can do from where I'm at. Because that's your requirement, the management requirement. And I would very much like a letter, because now Krishna is, we're going to the next step. You found somebody who really wants to take, you want to take shelter off. But then the letter is needed, and the temple is saying, well, you have to be serving the temple then. Explain the situation and see what the temple can do to offer you some service where you can do from where you're at to benefit the temple. And that way, then nobody will complain from the management standpoint. Nobody will complain that you get your service and you get your letter and go on with the next step. So since what I'm saying in short, since the temple management, that letter, the letter of recommendation, or it's there as a part of it, and they're saying it's tied to service, then you put it on them, on the management. This is my situation. How can I do service from where I'm at? And let them deal with that. At least they know that you want to do service from where you're at. That's what I'll do if I was in that situation. But yeah, very, very, very good point that you brought up. Hare Krishna. But one thing you shouldn't do, don't keep criticizing the temples. They won't do it, they won't. No, ask them for service from, that takes into consideration your situation. And let them give you that.
I think every devotee wants to do service at the temple, but some situation, they cannot. They may be living so far, or in our country, so many people are too old and they don't know even by the phone also. They are not too much expert, and they're old. They cannot go in transport too many times. So they have to be home, and they're considering they're giving initiation to them. And sometime maybe occasionally they come to the temple, otherwise they serve Lord in the home.
I understand that. You pretty much repeated what you said earlier, giving an example of somebody who's a little older. This has to be explained to the temple management. Temple management has to know the whole story first. Then they can, in fact, make a decision based on what's going on. You have to let the temple know.
I think maybe temple management also need to see their devotees' houses too. What are they doing? I think
the temple management should know what's going on in other people's houses.
At home also, yes.
I can speak for temple management and tell you that they cannot go to everybody to see the picture at their homes. Mataji, that's understandable. Practically, no. I tell you. Because I'm a husband of a temple president, so I know what they already go through, what's on their plate. So this makes sense, because if they came to the house, then they will learn, this is the situation, the real situation. But how would they, with all the other services that they have to do to manage, also go to different homes and speak to every single person. It's going to be difficult for the management to do that. So it's best for the people who are at home to get the help, to get the information to the management so the management knows what's going on. I will put the situation, the help on the person that needs the initiation to let the temple management know what's going on.
I'm not saying like exactly the management should come. Like maybe if there is a devotee, maybe there is some connection with devotee. Maybe through that they can know.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, that's one way of doing it. That's one way of doing it. And that can also be arranged by someone, the person who can't come, contact somebody who does come to the temple and speak on their behalf to the management that this is what's going on and I need initiation badly and this is my situation. There's only so much I can do. And if you can help me with service from where I'm at, fine. If not, then this is my situation. I very much want to get initiated. Then the temple management knows, the full story.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you very much, Prabhu. Dronacharya Prabhu has his hand up. I'll just say I have to go. That's why.
Speaking for management.
Yes. The only thing I want to say is, Prabhupada said we should work cooperatively. I think
yes.
We need to work together. There should not be a they and us. It should be just all of us together. But I'm going to make you host, Prabhu, so you can please end the call.
Okay.
Yeah, thank you.
So,
and
please go ahead.
Hare Krishna. I appreciate the conversation. I appreciate the conversation a lot. Mother Mukti Datri brought up, and what you were speaking about is something that does come up. And I know one thing, because I've had to write letters of recommendation.
Yeah.
And I always reflect upon who am I writing the letter of recommendation to? I'm writing it to the Guru, and so at that moment comes a sense of great responsibility that I'm basically vouching for this particular devotee to their spiritual master. And the spiritual master is expecting that an honest response that, is this person following the 4 regulative principles? Is this person chanting 16 rounds? Is this person engaged in devotional service? So then it gets to the point of how comfortable am I with making this statement? Do I have a good sense of this or do I not? And at that point, it takes it out of the personal realm. A lot of times these things are made personal. Do you like me? I'm your friend. I come, I help, I'm a nice person, come on, do me a favor here, and so there's some of the struggles that are there. And I liked your kind of resolve with that is that, if a person is unable to be seen, if they're not so available, if they're not actively involved in a congregational program or at the temple, and there are certain, and I agree, there are circumstances where people are unable to do that based on their life situation or their geographical location. At the same time, there has to be some type of credibility for a temple president or some authority making a statement to the spiritual master that, yes, I believe I'm recommending this, aspiring disciple to be initiated from you. I believe they're a candidate. I believe that they will, fulfill their, to the best of their ability, fulfill their vows that they're going to be taking. Other than that, we're not doing service to the spiritual master who's asking this of us. So it's there's a lot there,
it's more delicate than people realize.
Yeah.
More delicate, yeah. Anyway, Mataji, so hopefully this shed some light. You brought very important, not just questions, but literally important discussion. So temple authorities have heard, at least in the Philly temple they have, and we just go on from there. Any other questions? or comments before we end?
Thank you, Prabhu. Thank you, Dhanacharya Prabhu.
Hare Krishna. Jai.
Very good. Thank you. I really appreciate these conversations. Your classes bring up a lot of practical situations that a lot of times we don't talk about. But in them, we can learn a lot, and we can understand, what goes into, various etiquettes and the ways to approach devotional service. I appreciate that a lot.
It's actually your Prabhupada, because he wanted to find this. A devotee is an expert, but he's willing to do anything, and that started this whole discussion. Anyway, Hare Krishna.
Thank you very much for a nice class.
Krishna's mercy, Guru's mercy. Vanchakalpadurubhasya kripa sindhuve evacha patitanam pavanebhyo vaishnavebhyo namo namaha. Chirabhupari ki jai.
Thank you very much, Prabhu. Thank you.
You're welcome. Hare Krishna. Jai.